Okay, this is a video lecture on citing your sources. Why should I cite my sources? I think there are three basic reasons why you should always cite your sources. First reason is that you want to enable your reader to sort your thoughts from the thoughts of other people. A second reason is that you should always give credit where credit is due. And the third reason is that you need to establish a trusting relationship with your reader. Let's go through these reasons one by one. Reason number one. You want to enable your readers to sort your thoughts from the thoughts of others. Now, it's important for the reader to be able to tell what you specifically are arguing. To figure out what you are arguing, it's really helpful to be able to distinguish between your views and the views of the authors that you are engaging with or using. Clearly indicating when you're referring to other sources helps with the sorting process. Citing is therefore a component of writing clearly. It helps your reader understand you better. Reason number two is that, as a matter of ethics, you should always give credit where credit is due. Many people, students, authors, professors, and even bloggers, worked very hard to produce the intellectual content that you're engaging with in this course. It's only fair that they be recognized for their contributions. Not giving credit to others for their contributions, either intentionally or unintentionally, is a form of intellectual theft. It's called plagiarism. This question might seem silly, but I've been asked this question before. Why not just reproduce the work of others without attribution? Well, for one reason, it fails to treat people with respect. A second reason is that if people do it too much, it's going to discourage people from just sharing their ideas, and that makes us all worse off in the long run. And three, if those aren't really good enough reasons for you, it's also punished by me, your professor, the university, and in extreme cases, theft of intellectual property is prosecuted by the law. A third reason, and perhaps the most important reason, is that you need to establish a trusting relationship with your reader. Citing your sources enables your reader to check up on your sources if they're interested in more information or if they want to verify your interpretation of a specific text. More importantly, it's a way of saying, hey, look, I have nothing to hide. My hands are clean. Go check it up if you like. My argument is good. Your reader, after all, is not your mother or your best friend. They do not have to take your word for it. Showing that your writing is to show that your writing is trustworthy, you need to cite your sources precisely enough that someone can check up on you. Once you establish your bona fides, you're going to be much more likely to be persuasive to your audience. So what sorts of things should you cite? Well, just about everything. Books, articles, websites, blogs, the professor's slides or lectures, and even comments that students might have made in class. How should you cite them? Well, there are several acceptable citation formats that academics use. MLA, APA, Chicago style are three of the major ones. For the purposes of this class, all are acceptable. Each of these citation formats shares some pretty similar features that A, enable you to give credit where it's due, and B, enable your reader to check your sources. So all of these will have the title, the author, the publisher, the edition or the year, and the page numbers. Here are some good examples of footnotes and endnotes. These are APA citations. You see you have the author's last name, followed by first initial, followed by the year of publication, followed by the name of the book, followed by the place of it was published and the publisher's name, and followed by the page number if need be. In some cases you'll be citing a specific part of the text. In other cases you're perhaps citing an argument made throughout the text, in which case you may not have to cite a page number. Sometimes you'll be called to cite a chapter in an edited volume. There you're going to be citing the author, the year of the publication of the volume, the edited volume. So it's kind of weird in our cases where we are talking about Plato, but the edited volume that we're using was published in 2011. Of course, Plato, to the extent that he wrote anything down, wrote them down, 2,000 plus years ago, 2,500 years ago almost. But the year of publication of this particular text is 2011. That's the one that you want to go look at if you're going to be looking at the page numbers. Then you want to add who's the editor. In this case, it's Stephen Kahn, so S.M. Kahn. The title of the edited volume, Classics of Moral in political philosophy, second edition, the page number, and the place and publisher, the place of publication and publisher. If you're citing a journal article, again, much the same thing, although I forgot to italicize the review of politics there. But either way, much the same thing. If you want examples for websites or blogs or newspaper articles or other published materials, here's a link that you might be able to use. There are plenty of links out there helping students with citations. Now, something that's actually quite helpful in papers is to do in-text citations. One way to cite is to just put references to footnotes or endnotes. That is to say, gather all the supporting materials at the end of the text or in the margins at the bottom of each page. You can also do in-text citation, which is just a shorthand version letting the reader know immediately where something is. So here's an example of an in-text citation. You can say Schmitz, 2006, page 183, points out that wisdom simply parroted down from one generation to another often ceases to be wisdom. Another way of doing it is to say wisdom, repeated parrot-like from one generation to the next, often ceases to be wisdom, and then in parentheses, Schmitz, 2006, page 183. Of course, when you do these in-text citations, you have to put a link to the full citation at the end of the paper, typically in a bibliography. So some final words. Students are usually pretty good at citing the sources within the class. So in Political Science 3000, Kahn, Schmitz, the textbooks, you guys are pretty good at all of that. But where you guys get tripped up a little bit sometimes is when you fail to cite points that are made by the professors and students in class lectures or discussions. This is a bit of a problem. It's unethical for one, but I've had papers where the student basically repeats my notes or my slides back to me. That's not the exercise required, and even if it were okay, you still have to cite it. A second thing that students get tripped up by is that they fail to cite empirical work that backs up their claims about how the world actually works. And so you'll have, for instance, students making claims about anything from happiness to economics to sociology, and nowhere is there any evidence of any of this. Nowhere is any author cited. This is pretty important. You probably got that impression or you got that information from somewhere. So go and give credit. If you want your reader to believe you at the end of the day, you need to provide solid sources for all your empirical claims. Now, properly documenting all your sources takes time. It's tedious. It takes effort. But it's really the difference between being a scholar and being a hack.